Shoeless Joe Jackson was going to play baseball in Chicago when he really was seen. That's when his career took off. That's when Ty Cobb said he was the best left fielder of all time. That's when sports writers called his glove a place where triples go to die. But one shocking thing that no one could believe about Shoeless Joe was that when he was little he had never learned to read words or write essay. When playing for the White Sox in 1919 they lost the World Series in one of the biggest scandals in baseball history. Him and 8 others got in trouble for gambling and got suspended from the MLB. That's when Shoeless Joe Jackson returned to Iowa. When Shoeless Joe was sitting on his porch he heard a weird voice that sounded familiar. That voice said, "If you build it, it will come." The guy who said the quote was famous baseball announcer Ray Kinsella. Then Shoeless Joe was on his farm and wanted to make a baseball field. Then he wanted to play on it. But the only reason why he wanted to build it was so he can play it again. He wanted to get rid of his whole farm, seed it with grass. But there was something unique about this baseball field. He only built one side of the field. It was also the position he played, left field. But since Shoeless Joe loved baseball so much they just finished the whole field, building the entire field. It takes him 3 baseball seasons. One by one, the so-called unlucky 8, the White Sox baseball players who were banned for life in 1920, appear. Now only the right fielder and the catcher are still shadowy. Ray's daughter Karen also has the ability to see the games that take place. Next, Ray hears the baseball announcer say, mysteriously, "Ease his pain." Ray intuitively understands this to be a message about the reclusive writer J.D. Salinger. On the basis of a newspaper article he once read, Ray believes the Salinger is a baseball fan but that he has not seen a game live for over 25 years. Ray decides to visit Salinger in New Hampshire and take him to a baseball game at Fenway Park in Boston. Another link that connects Ray to Salinger is the fact that in one of his short stories, Salinger created a character named Ray Kinsella. There is also a character named Richard Kinsella in Salinger's book, The Catcher in the Rye, and Ray has a twin brother by that name. 1. Shoeless Joe. Why did you get into baseball? Well, my father played baseball his whole life. Even his dad played baseball too when he was little. I remember when I was little throwing the ball around with my dad or grandpa. I also remember breaking the window playing outside with my friends and my dad came out and said I wasn't allowed to play baseball anymore. But also remember going to games with my dad or watching games. Baseball 2. Why did you gamble on the 1919 World Series? 2. That's something I don't like to talk about. It was a stupid thing I did that I wish I never did. I own baseball for my dumb decision that I made. I was at this party with a couple of friends and I guess we got crazy and we started to gamble on random stuff and one of the things was the 1919 World Series. That's all I really want to say because it was a dumb choice my friends and I made. 3. Why did you want to only build the left side of the baseball field on your farm? 3. That is one thing I get a lot from people when they see my field at first. Well, I tell them is when I played pickup games when I was little I played right field and I couldn't catch anything so they moved me to left field and that's when I was one of the best to play. 4. Why did you want to play for the Chicago White Sox? 4. At the time the Chicago White Sox were a really good team and they were winning baseball games and that's what I wanted. I felt like I could win a championship there. 5. Why did you go to Iowa after you got in trouble? 5. Well, Iowa was where my farm was. That's where I would go during the off-season and live. I would also work on the farm on my downtime. But Iowa was one of my favorite places to live. It was one place I know that I could chill out and not worry about anything. But that's where my parents lived sometimes too. They would take care of the farm while I was playing baseball or working out. That's also where I moved to when I was little. I also had a lot of land there and sometimes my parents and siblings would come to help with the farm. That is why I went back to Iowa after I got banned for life. Shoeless Joe Goes to Iowa was a pretty okay book. It was the first time I read a book that was a good book but, at the same time a sad book. If you like sports books about baseball and something bad happening, this would be a good book. If you don't like sports books, then I would say don't read this book. I thought was a book that all sports players should read. They should also learn the lesson that you should not do what Shoeless Joe did. Would I ever recommend this book to my friends, family or stranger? I would say yes. I think every sports player should read this book. I even think every sports team should read this book.